450 square inches floor space and 12 height. This is because hamsters run 5.5 miles every single night, and that is a lot. So they should not be stuck in a tiny cage because they will have nowhere to roam and they will just get super stressed out. So just because they're tiny animals does not mean that they need a small cage. So just keep in mind that when you get a hamster, it needs to be at least 450 square inches. This could be a tank, a 12-gallon tank, 450 square inch bin cage, or regular cage, like a bin, like a bar cage. So yeah, they just need a 450. Hamsters also need food because they do get hungry, but keep in mind that seeds are not the only thing they need. They do need a mixture of seeds, grains, nuts, fruit and veggies, and animal proteins. This is to keep their diet very balanced and very healthy. But hamsters are omnivores, so their diets do get very complicated, but I am planning to do a whole video on this in the future. So along with hamsters eating a bunch of energy, you're also going to want to make sure they have a wheel. So for a wheel, you're going to want to make sure they have no mesh or bars on the side of them. This can cause bumblefoot, which is not fun for the hamster. You're going to want to also make sure as well that the wheel is, for a Syrian to Chinese hamster, 8 to 12 inch. I personally recommend 12 to 11 inches. That works best. And for a dwarf, I recommend it to be nowhere below 6 inches to 12 inches. We're going to also want to make sure it's the right size, because if it isn't, it can cause a bunch of back problems, and it's just also not fun for the next thing you're going to want to have is some type of water source, whether that's a water bottle or a water dish. I personally like water bottles better just because I have really clumsy hamsters. I'm always scared they're going to knock it over. But your hamster is going to need water because they need to stay hydrated. The next thing you're going to make sure you have is bedding. This is especially important because hamsters are burrowers and they need a bunch of bedding, typically 6 inches. But you also need to make sure you have the right kind of bedding. Not all bedding out there is safe for your hamster. If it's labeled pine, cedar, or softwood shavings, I would take that out and not get that, because that can cause skin irritation, rashes, and all that stuff. Respiratory infections, that can just cause all that stuff, making it not fun for your hamster and making them very sick and can possibly also kill them. So just make sure to stick to paper-based bedding. Paper-based bedding works the best for hamsters and is not irritating to them. So yeah, you also need to make sure you have bedding. The next thing you're going to want is a hide. So hides are very important because it helps hamsters stay safe, because hamsters typically are super tiny animals, so they feel threatened in so many sorts of ways. There are actually a bunch of hides out there, so you don't have to buy this particular hide. You can buy any hide you really want. You can have fun with it, just buy any hide you want. Just make sure you have a hide in your hamster's enclosure. Sometimes it works even better if you have more than one in there. Even if your hamster does not normally use a hide, it is still good to have one in there so they can feel safe, or whenever they feel threatened, they can always go into a hide and not get stressed. So a hide is also a really, really good thing to have. Chew toys. So yes, chew toys is it's a thing for hamsters, and hamsters do much need them. This is because hamsters' teeth do not ever stop growing. They just keep growing, so they need something to chew on to keep them gnawing down, because if their teeth get too long, it can cause pain, and it can cause their teeth to go crooked, which is not comfortable for them at all. So it is very good to have chew toys for your hamster. It's just good to buy a huge variety of them, just because some hamsters are weird like that and just choose other chew toys over some of them. If your hamster chooses not to chew on chew toys, you could just rub a little bit of peanut butter on them and they will start chewing on them. Things like carrots and hard foods like that can also gnaw down their teeth a little bit if they do not like chew toys, but chew toys are something very good to have. Next up is toys. So toys are super good to have to keep your hamster from not being bored. Yeah, just have a bunch of toys in your enclosure. I recommend wooden ones over plastic ones, just because wooden ones, they can also chew on them as well. Plastic ones are also good. They're just a little bit harder to clean, and hamsters typically go on wooden ones more than plastic ones from my experience. So toys are super good to have. Toys also go along with boredom breakers. Boredom breakers are just more advanced toys that basically keep them entertained and not be bored, and keep them entertained for much longer. This one, for example, has a bunch of twigs type stuff on it, and it also has peanuts on the inside, so basically I had to chew through this to get to the peanuts on the inside. There's a bunch of these. You can typically get these from PetSmart. I will link some down below, along with all this other stuff that I'm showing you. I'll link it all down below. But boredom breakers are also super good to have for hamsters. Next up, you're going to want to get some type of cleaning solution. This one, I homemade it. It's just 50% water and 50% vinegar. You can buy cleaning solutions from the store too, but most of them are not safe, and this is a very more cheaper version of buying hamster solution. This just gets rid of all the germs, and when you're doing like a full clean out of the cage, it helps get rid of all the germs, especially after a past hamster. You can put this in there a little bit. Just a couple spritz of it will do the job. You just wipe it down, all clean, all fresh. So cleaning solution is very good to have. So sand is really important to have for your hamster because hamsters cannot bathe in water. It is just dangerous for them. It can remove all their oils off their skin, making them really sick. So water is not good for them. So just make sure it's a decent size so they can roll in it and play in it and just do everything. Hamsters also do typically use it sometimes as a litter box, which is you just have to clean it out every day, which is actually kind of helpful though, because then you don't have to like go everywhere in the cage and look for this like hamster poop and stuff. So yeah, but they do use it as a sand bath as well. So yeah, sand baths are really good. Hamsters also can only have a couple types of sand. Not all sand is safe for them. They can either have children's play sand or reptile sand. Those are the two that work best for them. I'll link both of them down in the description. So yeah, but children's play sand, you're just going to want to make sure to put it in the oven for a little bit and sift out all the rocks in it, since it does have a bunch of rocks in it, just to get rid of all the germs and stuff, and so it doesn't destroy their coat. That's why I typically like reptile sand batter, just because you can just get it and put it in the bath and that's pretty much it. But I will link both of them down in the description for you guys, along with everything else. Next you're going to want to have is a travel cage. So travel cages, of course, are not the actual size of your actual cage, because it is way too tiny, but hamster travel cages are super good to have on the go, like if you're bringing your hamster to the vet or to traveling it somewhere, or even bringing them back from the pet store. They're super good to have because they are more safe. You can put a hide in them and bedding in them, and you're all good to go. Also, not like a cardboard box where hamsters can just chew right through a cardboard box, and then it's just super difficult. It's happened to me before. So travel cages are super good to have, so this comes in a lot of handy. So the next thing you're going to want to have is a playpen. Playpens are really good to have when you're cleaning a hamster's cage, and also just to give them some free roam time. You're going to make sure it's big. I homemade this out of bottom of storage bins. I just took out the bottom and made it, and I homemade this, but you can buy them from PetSmart and everything like that. But I like home making them just because you can make them however you want, how big you want, and it's just cheaper that way. So I like making it like this because playpens can be quite expensive. But if you do not want to buy a playpen, you can always get a bathtub, a dry bathtub, clog the drain, lay a towel on top of it, put toys and everything in there, and then put them in the bathtub. This can it works the same as a playpen. Sometimes I actually do prefer the bathtub more than the playpen. So yeah, a playpen is super good. So the final one is not recommended, but it is good to have. Like I said, hamsters are burrowers, and they love everything to burrow with. So for hamsters, you can use some orchard grass hay. This is not recommended, but it is good to have for your hamster. You just sprinkle some in it. Every time you clean their cage, you just sprinkle some in, and they use it to burrow. They will eat it. It's okay if they eat it. It's not going to harm them. But they don't usually just eat it. They usually use it as burrow. Like I said, it's not recommended, but it's really good to have because they love to burrow with it, and it's just super great for them to burrow with. So personally, I like orchard grass hay the best because this hay does have to be soft. Like just regular orchard hay won't work because it's too thick of hay, and hamster cheek pouches are really thin. So if it were to because they put it in their mouth, so if they were to bite it and it'll poke the cheek pouch, it could poke their cheek pouch, it could poke their eye. It could just do a lot of damage. So orchard grass hay is the best just because it is more soft than normal hamster hay. But yeah, guys, that is it for this video. Everything in this video is going to be in the link down in the description down below, so you can buy some for yourself if you would like. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I cannot wait to see you guys next time. Bye!